The third article of the current constitution clearly states that the state ensures the defense of the human rights according to international rights, norms and principles. This provision has been eliminated from the constitutional draft. The first impression can be that the constitutional draft states and provides more guarantees in terms of human rights defense because, for example, in Article 81 it is recorded that the provisions on defense of human rights should be interpreted in the light of those international organizations which implement and practice international agreements on human rights. However, when we realize that the constitutional draft domesticates only the contractual provisions, it becomes clear that a huge volume of international law, that is, the customary international law, will no longer be a component of the domestic legislative system of the Republic of Armenia. Theoretically, this means denouncing international agreements, that is, in case when we leave international agreements which in particular are on human rights, the Armenian constitution will fall into a legislative vacuum. It means it will be cast out of the existing international responsibilities because their direct application is not ensured by non-contractual obligations. Theoretically, it does not exclude the possibility that, for example, the Republic of Armenia, in the upcoming 10 years, also taking into consideration a number of judicial processes with serious financial outcomes, particularly the cases applied by the Azerbaijani citizens, such as the case of Chiragov against the Republic of Armenia. The Republic of Armenia, in its turn, can be inclined to denounce such international legal documents, and in the context of the constitutional draft, it will mean that human rights will no longer have effective guarantees. Another issue that I would like to discuss is connected with the application mechanisms of international agreements. A little bit of theory first. It is known that states are divided into two parts from the perspective of applying international contractual obligations. First are states of the English, Anglo-Saxon legal system, which are more inclined to the dualistic theory. States belonging to this system do not apply contractual obligations until there is a law or an act adopted by the parliament or the legislative body which will reflect international contractual obligations in the provisions of national law. Countries of the continental law system bypass that issue. Almost in all legal system constitutions of European and continental states, it is clearly stated that international agreements are components of the national legal system and right. And the same provision is also recorded in the current constitution of the Republic of Armenia, which states that ratified international agreements are an integral part of domestic law, and in case of conflict between the international contracts and laws, contractual provisions are foreseen. A very interesting thing takes place in the new draft, which in my opinion is partially due to carelessness. The new draft does not mention that the international agreements are an integral part of the domestic legal system. It just states that in case of conflict between international agreements and law, international contract norms are applied. What legislative outcomes can this have? In reality, if we do not state the agreements are part of the domestic law, our position becomes rather unclear. That is, to which legislative family do we belong to the dualistic or to the monastic system, because the new text does not give answer to this question. It breaks a very significant provision, which is international agreements are an integral part of domestic law, and besides, the new constitution does not have a provision that constitutional norms are subject to immediate implementation. This means that from the perspective of application of international or even contractual norms, we are going to encounter serious issues. Another interesting factor connected to Armenia's membership in the Eurasian Economic Union. As we know, Armenia joined the Eurasian Economic Union in the context of the current constitution. Our president's signature and the final ratification by the National Assembly were enough. In Article 205 of the new constitution, it is stated that supranational membership in international organizations must be conducted through referendum. What does this mean? This means that theoretically, though we joined the Eurasian Economic Union by the vote of the National Assembly, now we cannot leave the Union by the same mechanism. Hereafter, for leaving the Eurasian Economic Union, we will need a referendum. And of course, this also causes problems, for example, from the perspective of democracy, that is, how democratics joining international body with one model and leaving it with another. Another important issue, if we take the constitutions of European countries which are a member of the European Union, for example, we will see that almost in all countries of European countries there is a distinct provision according to which public authorities can delegate their jurisdiction to supranational organizations, meaning, of course, the European Union. The new constitutional draft does not foresee such provisions. What does this mean? This means that the text of the Constitution, which has been adopted after becoming member of the Eurasian Economic Union and presumably should have taken into consideration the peculiarities that hereafter we are a member of a supranational organization, in fact has been undermined. And this means that the resolutions adopted by Eurasian Economic Union cannot be mandatory for the Republic of Armenia, at least from the perspective of constitutional text. And again, a particular act adopted by the National Assembly's legislative body will be needed for incorporating the given resolutions of the international body into the national legislative system. We understand that this situation can result in chaotic legal regulations because in each case, from one side, every legal act of the Eurasian economic system must be taken and reflected in the national rights. Summing up, I can say that the constitutional draft does not take into account international legal issues, as if it does not take international rights seriously. I think the preparatory works on the draft on international law issues were not taken seriously.
Նախապատրաստական աշխատանքներին կարծում եմ միջազգային իրավական խնդիրների նկատմամբ լուրջ վերաբերմունք չի դրսևորվել։